Hare Krishna Prabhu, welcome to my channel.
Hare
Thank
Krishna
you.
Tripananda Prabhu. Dhanavad
Yeah,
Pranam.
yes, and thank you for taking the invite last minute and being so spontaneous. And yeah, so thank you for taking out the time today. And I've been meaning to talk to you for a little while, and I thought, I've seen your journey, and I thought I'll hear from your spiritual journey into Krishna consciousness, and I'm sure a lot of people will get inspired and motivated, and also a better understanding of what Krishna conscious philosophy is all about. So, Prabhu, tell me a bit about yourself. Where you are in United States, right?
I am in New Jersey.
Oh, great. Okay. So tell me a bit about yourself.
Sure. So first, I'm accepting everything that has happened in my life before I came to Krishna consciousness, all as the mercy of Gurudev, actually, without a question. Uh, the perfect way to lead me to his lotus feet only. Um, but I was born here in New Jersey, and had a pretty average, mundane upbringing in material world, and went to school, went through high school, and made friends and played some sports, and then went to college. And around college, that wasn't for me. It wasn't working so well. I didn't finish college actually. I went to Stockton University in New Jersey, and I was studying sustainability science, and then I changed. I had a major in sustainability science and a minor in holistic health, and I changed my major to philosophy and a minor in writing, and then I was learning a little bit about more spiritual topics, or at least philosophical thinking, deeper thinking than what I had encountered in those other classes, but still it was very much in a mundane setting at the university, and I wasn't properly situated to be able to dedicate that into Krishna consciousness as perhaps I could do now. So I ended up leaving school, and I was looking for something that seemed more meaningful. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for at the time. Um, I found my way into a community here in New Jersey that was practicing shamanism.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a philosophy as well, isn't it? Shamanism. So yeah.
yes, I mean, from now I can understand from the Krishna consciousness perspective, shamanism and Native American spirituality is actually more like demigod worship and ancestral worship. It's not so much about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uh, but at the time, it was just something different, and it was giving me a little bit more fulfillment. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to keep going in this direction and see what happens. And so I did, and eventually I through a different avenue, through family actually, I met a person in New Jersey practicing yoga asana, and at the same time I had started to take Ayurveda classes, because
Ayurvedic classes. Okay.
yes, and I was that was my first introduction to like Vedic, some kind of Vedic idea, and I liked that, and it felt like it was corresponding to the truth. Somehow intuitively I felt that way. So I continued to go in that direction, and I was practicing the yoga asanas and listening to some of the philosophical topics that were being discussed at the yoga classes. And I did that for a few years, and I had started practicing veganism at that time. Beforehand, I was eating meat and all of that, but when I introduced to this yoga community, I started practicing veganism, and one individual in that community actually took me to the Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute, and that's how I met Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj.
Right.
And you know, I could understand that what he was offering was much more complete and much more fulfilling than any of the other things that I was engaged in. And then I started to learn that it wasn't about my fulfillment anyway, so that I shouldn't be thinking like that. But the whole time I was thinking about what was fulfilling me.
Yes.
And then I learned, no, we should try to learn what is satisfying to the Supreme Lord, what is
Beautiful.
what is satisfying to the spiritual master. And I started to learn these things, and it seemed very beautiful to me, and it seemed like uh, somehow by the Lord's arrangement, I was in a life circumstance where I had the opportunity to do seva more full time, and Sripad Bhaktimadhava Puri Maharaj extended that opportunity to me to do seva more full time. So I was able to, and you know, I started to learn about the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition,
Yeah.
and specifically, I learned about the service that the Bhaktivedanta Institute was doing, which is a
Hmm.
very particular service, um, which you know. Do you mind if I go into this now, or should I go in a
No,
different direction?
actually, before we move to that, I just wanted to, I had a couple of questions when I was listening to you. First of all,
Yeah.
before you came into Vedic philosophy, number one, I mean, did you have you heard of the Vedic philosophy before? I mean, what did you know as an as an American? I mean, what did you have you did you hear these terms before? I know yoga is very popular in America, right? So it's and now obviously Ayurveda and vegetarianism is also becoming very very popular. But from Vedic, I mean, did you hear anything about its Vedic philosophy? You know.
A little bit. I knew of yoga as far as the yoga poses go, and I had heard of Ayurveda a little bit, but I didn't hear, you know, I had never heard of Krishna consciousness actually.
Right.
And I think I only heard Lord Shiva's name before, maybe Lord Brahma's name, but I'd never even heard Krishna's name,
Yeah.
and until I came to the Vaishnavas.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I'm surprised because Hare Krishnas are like bit
yeah,
like quite sort of well known, isn't it, in the United States?
it is well known. I'm surprised also that I had never encountered it before.
Right. And now obviously you had no family background as such. No like friends who knew about this. So it was just a
Um,
case of as you were saying, you were studying something which led you gradually into this. Am I right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. So, and then you said you met, but then how did you meet Puri Maharaj? Then how was that link established? What was the like? How
When
did
I
that happen?
Well, I was doing the yoga classes with this community
Right.
in New Jersey, and then there was a friend that I had within that community who was going to Sripad Puri Maharaj, and one day he said, "Hey, would you like to come with me?" And I
Right.
didn't know anything, and I said, "Sure, it sounds like a nice thing to try." So I came with him, and um, you know, then I
And
came a
what was
few more
your
times.
and like when you met him for the first time, completely alien to this philosophy, you saw him. What was your like first like few meetings like? Like what did you think?
Well, I was a little bit exposed to the philosophy during the yoga classes because they were also practicing bhakti a little bit, uh,
Yes.
but not so heavily as Sripad Puri Maharaj. The conception that he was presenting was much more full. So it was, I mean, based on the introduction that I had to Krishna consciousness in that yoga community, I could see what Sripad Puri Maharaj was offering was very special, and I wanted to, absorb as much as possible.
Yeah, and I find like with Puri Maharaj that he is, and please correct me if I'm wrong. When I hear his lectures, he's got a very unique, view on things. When he explains something, and also I've noticed that he like you listen to a lot of acharyas and a lot of Vaishnavas, but Puri Maharaj seems to you can hear Hegel in his lecture. You can hear Western philosophers, and he in science. He uses science quite a lot as well.
Yes,
And it's so beautiful when you hear his lectures, and they're so easy. That's what I find. When I listen to him, it just makes sense.
yes. Well,
Yeah, sorry, go on.
he in Sripad Puri Maharaj, in my humble experience, he's a very sweet and sincere, pure Vaishnava, and
Oh
based
yes.
on that quality, he was always willing to do whatever was necessary for service. So he received diksha initiation, first initiation, and second initiation from Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Of
And
course.
and at first he was doing normal service, deity worship, cooking, offering prasadam, kirtan, and then one day when he was meeting with Srila Prabhupada directly, one of the devotees said, this devotee has a background as a PhD in chemistry, and Prabhupada said,
Yeah.
oh, please let me talk to him. He said, and then so when Sripad Puri Maharaj went to talk to Srila Prabhupada, he said, you must use your background in science to preach about Krishna consciousness. Tell them that matter comes from life. Srila Prabhupada's two ideas for preaching to the scientists were that life comes from life and matter comes from life, and that those were empirically observable truths, which is what science is after. However, they're connected to the spiritual reality because ultimately life refers to Krishna. So that was the service that Sripad Puri Maharaj was first given by Srila Prabhupada. And then after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance from the world, we know that he told the devotees on several occasions that Srila Prabhupada considered Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhardev Goswami Maharaj as his own Siksha Guru, what to speak of the benefit you can get from going to him. So
Yes. I mean, yes, of course. So, I mean, one thing I wanted to ask you, like, in terms of your family, did your family practice like Christianity or anything of that nature or not? I mean, what I'm trying to find is, did you have any sort of grounding in any sort of spiritual tradition?
Well, I received the sacraments, the Catholic sacraments, but I didn't practice any religion. My
Right,
family also, my mother came from a Catholic background, and she was the reason that I got the sacraments, like what is it,
right,
baptism, confirmation, and all that. But we weren't very much going to church or anything like that, so I didn't
right,
really have a I didn't really have any kind of developed belief or understanding of God at all before coming to
right.
Krishna consciousness.
So you meet Puri Maharaj, you come to the center, and you hear the philosophy, and you say, "Yeah, this is it." So, what was that it for you? Anything you can remember?
I mean, it was something just in my heart. I felt attracted. It was really more of that kind of attraction. I could understand that it was very beautiful, um, and I wanted to participate and learn more. And it was just that kind of attraction. And then as I participated more and did more service, then the understanding came with that. But it wasn't there initially. That wasn't what drew me. It was just the feeling.
It's just a feeling. I mean, now when you look back, in the sense, like, like we say, like, this is what I like. This message about, this philosophy, I really like. Or everything is beautiful, of course, but like for different people, they certain things appeal to them, a bit more than the others. So, did anything stand out, if you remember, or even now, if I ask you now today, what would you say? Somebody came to you and said, why you practice this philosophy? So what would you sort of say to them?
Yeah, well, now I would say that Srila Sridhar Maharaj always talks about Krishna as the organic whole, meaning all of reality is the organic whole. It's all a dynamic, living, conscious reality, and that there's reason behind it. It's not just random. And learning the Krishna conscious, the Vaishnava philosophy, and practicing bhakti yoga, and serving the Vaishnavas, and surrendering to a guru, through doing those things, I feel that reality has much more clarity now, and I feel
Wow,
that my daily activities uh, have much more purpose behind them, and uh,
fantastic. That's that's,
yeah,
that's that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, you're living the experience, really. With the master, I think very very fortunate. So like, I know you got initiated in 2019, right?
yes.
So how did that happen? I mean, what made you decide? Look, I think I need to be initiated. Like, was it
Well, initially, I had approached Sripad Puri Maharaj for initiation,
right?
and Sripad Puri Maharaj doesn't accept Diksha disciples at all. He always, when Srila Govinda Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj was the Acharya, he would send the devotees to Govinda Maharaj. That's what he did with Sripad Bhakti Niskam Shanta Maharaj and Sripad Bhakti Vigyan Muni Maharaj. He directed them. They also came to him, Sripad Puri Maharaj, for initiation, and he said, I don't give formal initiation, but please go to Govinda Maharaj. He is the Acharya, and he is a pure Vaishnava, and you'll receive much benefit from receiving initiation from him. And then once Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj became the Acharya, he sent any souls who came to Puri Maharaj, he would send to Acharya Maharaj, and that's how he directed me.
And that was easy, isn't it? Easy decision, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So did you speak to Acharya Maharaj before initiation at all, or was it like no?
Not at all. No.
Because your situation and my situation was very similar. We got initiated over Skype, so
yes.
You
were also in England when you got initiated.
That's right. And Shanta Maharaj was there at the time. So we have a lot of things in common that way. There's common thread running. So he said, Shanta Maharaj said, do you want to get initiated? Yes, I've been meaning to. So why don't you? Why you? You know how Shanta Maharaj is. He's like, and he says, why don't you? I said, okay. He said, I'll arrange for you. I said, okay.
Wonderful.
So that happened, and I have been, I when I came to England in 90s, I've not shared this with many people, but when I came to England, the first week of my being in England, somebody gave me Bhagavad Gita as it is, and they said to me, "Oh, somebody gave me this, Oxford Street, London. They were distributing this book. I'm not going to read it. You can have it." And that book was Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I was really like, when I look back, I think, wow, is it a coincidence? Is it a mercy? I'm sure it's a mercy.
Yeah.
And I was going to the temples, and like generally, like the Hindus generally they go to the temples, but not really into it. But only last few years, I started a bit more sort of serious. And obviously, this is not about me. This is about you. But I'll just finish here. And what happened was, I was looking for cooking classes. Yeah, believe it or not, right? So where I live, the nearest Hare Krishna, I used to call them Hare Krishna, is our Chaitanya Saraswat Math, in West London. So they used to do cooking classes on Sundays, and that's how I got in touch with like you. You came the yoga path, the Ayurvedic path, and I came through the cooking classes. And then obviously I started reading books of Shri Maharaj, and then that just blew me away. So so now you got initiated, and so how has your life, your daily life changed? Actually, before we come to that, so you took initiative. So how did your family take this? Obviously, you told your family that you're going to be a vegetarian and you're going to be doing this. What was their reaction? Was it?
Well, my mom and dad were always very supportive parents, and
Wonderful.
so they continue to be supportive, and to this day they're very supportive.
And did they ask you about what is it you're following? What is this Krishna consciousness? And have they been to the temple as well?
For sure, yeah. They've been to some of the programs with Sripad Puri Maharaj, and they do their best to try to understand things, but depending on our own desires, we'll be able to understand to that capacity. So they understand something, but not everything. But they're still very supportive, which is very
wonderful.
Nice.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And then when you got initiated, I know I was saying to you before we started this interview that I met you at the West London just for like maybe 20 minutes, and you were sitting there, and we was in the same room. So you went to see Acharya Maharaj, right? So very briefly, I know you went to India. So let's start. How was India for you? Like, you never been to such a strange country, like,
It was another world for me. Yeah, spirits. It was another
Okay.
world, but it was beautiful. It was
Yeah, you
beautiful
went to
to see.
Calcutta, right? You went to Calcutta, right?
I went to Calcutta. I went to Nishingapali, and then to Jagannath Puri.
Right. And how many days did you spend with Acharya Maharaj?
Well, when I was there in Calcutta, I was able to call Srila Acharya Maharaj, and he was at the Dum Dum Park Temple, and he told me to come, and so I came, and I had a couple of gifts that I wanted to offer to him, uh, based on the merciful recommendation of Sri Shanta Maharaj. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known what to offer.
Of
But
course.
he gave me some
Of course.
suggestions,
Yes, yes.
and so
Yes,
I got.
our gurus are very compassionate and merciful. You know, they would have accepted anything you gave from us, I'm sure.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So when you first met Guru Maharaj, Acharya Guru, Yoga, our Guru, we are
Yes.
technically God brothers. So when you first saw him, like person, face, how was that experience?
Very strange. I started sweating profusely, and and,
Okay.
and he and he said he thought something was wrong, and he told one of the devotees to turn the fan on, and it was very
Okay.
trans. I think it was transcendental experience, and but
Oh,
it was so
okay.
wonderful to see Srila Acharya Maharaj and to have his
Yes.
association, and he allowed me to come to a preaching program, and I was able
Wow.
to spend about 4 days traveling with him and the devotees, and doing kirtan and listening to his programs. It was right on
And,
the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada.
yes. Oh, great. I mean, if I, for my benefit, and I'm going to be selfish here because I never met Gurudev. So, what was one thing about Gurudev you noticed, like when you were with him? Anything that you want to share?
Yeah, Srila Acharya Maharaj never stops.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
he never stops his service, but that's very apparent, and you can see him going all the time. Even right now, I know he's still going.
I was going to say that. Yes, of course. Yes.
So
I mean, they are really, they are living examples, and I think there's a phrase in America, they walk the talk, right? So
sure.
they are living embodiment of the service really, and yes, I agree with you, and yeah, and thank you for sharing that. So you came back from India, and you go to Vrindavan by any chance?
I didn't. No.
And how was Puri for you?
Oh, it was wonderful. I had the opportunity to associate with some of the devotees that were traveling from Russia, I believe, with Shripad Bharat Maharaj. He was there visiting. I got to have his association accidentally, or by divine arrangement, and I was able to have some of Lord Jagannath's prasadam, and
Oh,
have,
wow. Okay.
you know, so it was very wonderful.
Wonderful. Yes, of course. And then, like, you had no issues in terms of like health or anything in India. Everything went smoothly, right?
No, no problem.
And, which is good. You went what, in the summer or in the winter? I mean, you went in summer, right? July, August? No.
No, I was there in
No.
around March and April.
Oh yes, that's not too bad because the heat in India, is intense. Can go over 40 degrees Celsius, so it's
Mm.
pretty hot there. So you came back. So Prabhu, I'm going to ask you that now you when you now you got now you're initiated. How did your daily life change with that? I mean, what do you have, like? Did it change at all or?
Well, I live here with Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, so I just try to um, you know serve him and do whatever is necessary for the daily activities and for the Bhaktivedanta Institute here, the scientific preaching,
Wonderful.
and that's about everything we
I
try to
I
do.
mean, what I was asking was like, do you get up in the morning, early mornings, and do your chanting and
Yes,
the daily? So that way it has changed, right?
that's true. Yes.
Right, and early nights, is it?
Yeah. So we get up, and yeah, I guess for those unfamiliar with the practice of bhakti, we try to get up at Brahma Muhurte, is the 90-minute period before the sun rises, and we try to worship the deity, and we offer some food, offer some bhog. And then we honor prashadam, and we'll chant our rounds and um, go about whatever service is necessary that day.
Yes, I mean I've seen your videos, and I'm gonna put the link to the channel and obviously the website in my description box later on. But I was listening to you this morning, as a matter of fact. So how's your Sanskrit coming along?
I don't, by the mercy of Shri Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaji, he taught me how to read the Sanskrit and Bengali with with a melody, and he's very knowledgeable in Shastra, and so he's helped me learn some things. So by the mercy of Guru, we're slowly learning. We're very unqualified and very ignorant. So only by the grace of Guru is it possible.
I know you're uploading your videos all the time, because I get notification of you doing. And I think we need to expand that a bit, And I was going to say, I mean, we'll have a chat after this video. I've got some ideas about that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's been really nice to actually talk to you.
Do you want me to mention it here about the?
Yeah, once we finish, don't go away. Then we'll have the conversation. So no, I was just saying. I mean, it's so nice. And if I ask you in terms of the spiritual life or the journey you experienced so far, what would you say? How's the journey been?
I only pray that service continues for the rest of my life, and jivas are eternal. So
yes. And how's it actually changed you as a person? Like if you look back 3 years ago,
I'm much more aware of my own faults now.
Wonderful. That is true. That definitely is true. That happens to all of us. Some people, it's an individual thing as well, and I think it's very beautiful what you said. I think it makes you aware of your own faults. So that's wonderful. And any favorite book you have reading at the moment? Which is your sort of any favorite books you like to read, or they're all your favorites?
Yes, I have one specific favorite.
Which one is that?
It's called "Idols of the Mind versus True Reality" by Madhava Puri Maharaj.
Yes. I've got that book. I downloaded it from the Amazon. I was I think the first one to download it.
Wonderful, Prabhu. I would love to talk about that sometime.
Definitely. But thank you very much for Actually, before we go, what would you? Why, if somebody asked you why would I take up this Krishna consciousness, what would you say to them?
I would ask them to do an experiment. Put themselves in the test tube, as Sripad Bhaktimadhava Puri Maharaj did. He said, I'm a scientist, and I'm hearing that, if I practice Krishna consciousness, I will experience Sat Chidananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So first, let me not ignore that. Let me not reject that based off of my own skepticism. If I can experience Sat Chidananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss through this process of bhakti yoga, then I'm going to try it. And if it's fake, then it won't work. And if it's real, then it will work. So let me experiment with it. If you want to experience eternity, knowledge, and bliss, then do the experiment and practice bhakti yoga.
Fantastic. Oh, so if you want to experience spiritual bliss, this is the path, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, excellent. And I hope our association will continue, Prabhu. And
yes,
I know this is our first sort of interaction, but I sincerely hope that we continue this conversation in the future also. And thank you for coming, taking the time out, and then what's pranam to you. Thank you very much.
Sincere appreciation to you, Drivananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam. Hare Krishna.